Good morning again on this lovely day. So I'm out, as you can hear. Let's see if I turn the camera around, see if I can get Banjo in the picture. There he goes with his stick. So yeah, ready for another crumbs under the table. I'm going to be walking through some muddy ground this morning. So if the camera flies up in the air and I disappear, it's probably because I've slipped over, not paying attention where I'm going. And so I was talking with a friend the other day, Steve, who watches these videos, and actually he was just saying how he thought it would be really helpful if I could do something which I do talk about a little bit, which is about kind of what the things that Jesus teaches which actually are relevant to leadership. And that's a great idea. Thanks for that one, Steve. So I'm planning to do a little bit of a series. Oh, my feet are really squelching through this lot. So one of the things I do is back at my old university, I actually kind of coach students in leadership and team dynamics and so on. And I often introduce them to the concept of natural leadership, which is a term I got from a paper by the Harvard Business Review. Most of the world's really inspirational leaders, you will find, of course, they have natural leadership, and I kind of often kind of counterpoint that with structural leadership, i.e. I'm given a position in some sort of organisation and I have authority that comes with that. And there's a massive of things you can say about natural leadership, and one of the things that's absolutely fascinating is that Jesus both models and very specifically teaches on all sorts of things that fall into this realm or into that category of natural leadership. It's interesting, there's that famous quote from Napoleon, he long lines, I won't get it right now, but him saying, that Jesus is the world's best leader because, there's no empire or emperor that has ever drawn as many people to follow them out of a sense of emotional love connections, out of inspiration, rather than anything else. And of course he's not wrong. It's absolutely true. But that, it's easy to kind of say, well, it's just an abstract, he's a religious figure now. But even in life we read about how from humble beginnings and starting to talk and have conversations with people on the fringes of John the Baptist's ministry, people start gathering to him and feel inspired to follow him almost from the beginning. And then we get to a point where within a year of doing that, the crowds are so big that he can hardly move as they press around him, and he has to leave Galilee and Judea and go up into the pagan world just to kind of get away and get some space. And so I think it's very difficult to kind of deny the fact that Jesus has a huge amount of natural leadership. So the question is, what are the things that go into that? And there are countless of them, because there's a lot of work that's been done analysing these things. What is it that makes some people someone that people want to follow? So because I never want these things to be too long, I'm going to keep it simple this morning. Because one of the real big cores right at the heart of it, there's a few, one of the really big ones is moral integrity. It used to be argued and said in kind of psychological circles, just heard an interesting bird over there, but I can't see it now, he's hidden himself. Anyway, it used to be said that the most attractive kind of personality trait was warmth. But that's been revised quite strongly by kind of the extensive research that's been done over the last 20-30 years. And now the majority of psychologists would say that the number one factor in terms of whether you're a kind of personality that people want to follow is moral integrity. And there are two sides to it, because one is the need to espouse kind of a certain consistent moral virtue that resonates with the person around you. But then here's the tricky one, is then living up to that and being consistent with it. And so I think whatever else you want to say about Jesus, what you understand is his massive appeal, and it's actually a kind of part of the testimony of the Gospels, is that when he's eventually being tried and accused, they couldn't find anyone who could say anything really negative to stick against him, even amongst those who wanted to find and condemn him. Because actually he was always consistent. That doesn't mean to say he just said nice things all the time. See, that's part of warmth, saying nice things. It was just that he was massively consistent and therefore didn't have much to hide. And actually, well, I remember one of the people who was kind of one of my mentors, who went by the unfortunate name of Winky Pratney. Bless him, I think he's passed on now. But he used to do an awful lot of work with damaged youth, young people being rescued off the streets, taken into homes and care and so on, in a context where there wasn't a huge amount of social action and social action resources available. And he always used to say with those young people, the thing they look for first in you is consistency, not kindness. See, there's even a kind of a sense in which kindness is sometimes something to be suspicious of. And that's often one of the problems when we train kind of leaders and managers to be kind to their staff. It's better that they're kind to their staff than they're unkind to their staff. But the problem is life has left us slightly suspicious up front of kindness. So the key thing is consistency. They want consistency more than kindness. So don't strain too hard to be overly kind if you can't manage it for the long term. Better to kind of set at the level you are and be consistent in that. And actually that's a much more attractive kind of approach in terms of leadership. So I think, as I say, it's a reasonably safe thing to say. Oh, my dogs are just chasing some ducks. What we're just saying, I've just now lost track of the things I was saying. I mean, Jesus, of course, he then teaches also his disciples to be consistent. He talks about let your yes be yes and your no be no. Don't say anything beyond that. Because it actually signals to people that there might be another motive, is the way he puts it. We often don't read it that way because we read the Bible in very religious language, but the way he puts it is anything beyond that kind of is evil. We think, evil? Is it evil to kind of say, no, I promise? And well, that's not so much what he's saying. What he's saying is it's actually kind of signalling the fact that you're in a slightly dishonest environment, and that puts people in that mindset. If you can just be honest and truthful right from the beginning and say what you mean and mean what you say, and stick with it. So I'm just trying to think where I want to finish this morning, because there are 1,001 different things that go into the issue of natural leadership. Actually, Jesus talks about the difference. It's interesting, isn't it? Thinking about it now. Time after time, as you read the Gospels, you'll hear people saying of Jesus, he doesn't teach like the scribes and the Pharisees. And you think, well, what does that mean? And actually, as someone who's now read some of the scribes and Pharisees who are contemporary with Jesus, you can see it straight away. Because actually it is a demonstration of that thing that Jesus said about let your yes be yes and your no be no. If you read the academics of Jesus' day, the rabbis, they're always citing other people with reference, circumnavigating around a subject, kind of coming to a clever conclusion that's gone through so many different kind of hoops and whatever, that actually they avoid any kind of sense of personal responsibility for what they're teaching. And yet that isn't Jesus' way. He does teach in parables, things that draw you in emotionally. But that's not the same as kind of avoiding the answer. When he's asked direct questions like, should we pay taxes to Caesar, which is a trick question, because they want to wind Jesus up with those who resent the Roman world. And he has that brilliant thing where he takes the coin, and I think this is the modern world. I know plenty who don't want to pay their taxes because their governments spend them on things that they wouldn't approve of. But Jesus takes it, says, whose head's on it? Well, it's Caesar's, of course, Well, okay, you do your trade and your business by walking up and down Caesar's roads. If people don't pay their debts, you will appeal to the tax collector system, because tax collectors were really debt collectors, that is supported by Roman military might. You will do all of your living on the benefit of a system. And yes, they might be an evil empire. Yes, they might charge too much taxes, but that in itself isn't the reason. See, that's a strong answer. You can disagree with it, but you can't say he's fudging around the issue. So actually there's one of the things, but then there's an interesting little bit where they talk about the model or example of the Pharisees, and Jesus says, well, you sort of have to do what they say because they sit in the seat of Moses. And I see in that phrase the exact contrast to natural leadership, which is kind of positional or structural leadership. So someone inspirational comes along, like Moses, and he creates a legal framework to resolve disputes and to settle matters. And those are now administered through the synagogues in Jesus' day and through the rabbis. And so what Jesus is saying is, he says they sit in that seat. So you do need to kind of go with them. You have to work with the context you are in. But he then makes the point, he says, but so you can do as they say, i.e. if they say deciding between you and your neighbour, it's your fault and you need to pay. You have to do as they say, but he said, but don't do as they do. Because Jesus is aware that often structural leadership becomes an excuse not to develop that natural side, that genuine side of moral integrity. And that's one of the flip sides of the fact we find moral integrity so attractive that we all self-deceive ourselves in terms of our own morality. And of course we all virtue signal the whole time. And so I think it was a researcher at the University of South Carolina who, after reviewing 500 pieces of work on social psychology with a moral dimension, said we should rename social psychology as the study of moral hypocrisy. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because actually hypocrisy is a word that Jesus has given the English language. I mean, it's a Greek word, and it was around as a Greek word before Jesus. But the big difference is that, of course, it means play actor, but it doesn't come to us in English as meaning play actor. It means someone who says one thing but actually lives in a different way. And that is a huge human problem. You see, it's the flip side of we're attracted to people who present morally, and that means we all present morally. But then there's often a gap between the truth of who we are, and that's the integrity bit. When people have been with you for a while, does it make sense that you keep saying those things? Does it really reflect something true about you? And that was clearly the case in Jesus. It's why he used that word so often. He applied it of hypocrisy and hypocrites, and gives it to us in English, is because he lived with a very small gap between the person and the persona, the truth of who he was and what he projected. And so there's a straightforward challenge. We'll think about other things in days and walks to come, but I just wanted to start with that issue that you find in the Gospels and you find in Jesus' teaching, which actually the Harvard Business Review does a paper on, that says natural leadership really flows out of a sense of consistency, out of a sense of integrity, moral vision and consistency to it. So there's a start of a 10. And I will kind of keep my eye now on the mud that I'm slopping my way through, and we'll be back again at another time. So let's go quickly pray. Say, Father, thank you for the day today. Thank you it's not raining like the other day, although I know we need the rain. But Father, just give our weeks to you. Give the week we've got coming. Father, help us to grow in natural leadership and to fill the positions and authorities we're given by others. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.